Hello, and welcome to the podcast There Are No Good Games, where we discuss our opinions on past, present, and future games, as well as a whole load of other filler to keep us sane while we wait for a good game to play. Let's begin. I think this is where we need to start off. Do podcasts do you like thematic podcasts? Or do you like thematic podcasts? Because I like the idea.
No, I don't like thematic podcasts.
You don't?
But every now and again, like the Sims one was okay, but
No, but I mean,
like
thematic isn't like storytelling. Like, I think every season, every new year, we should be starting with like a brand new idea. Like, this should be season 2 epilogue, because it's the ending of our 2024, and we can have a prelude before we hit 2025. You know,
I'm asking ChatGPT for so I need an intro. Intro. For my podcast, for my gaming podcast, right? Podcast.
We don't talk about games.
We haven't. That's because there are no good games. Which I need an intro for my game podcast, which we haven't recorded an episode in for a while. Right. Make it funny. Okay, let's see what it comes up with. Okay. So it's thinking. It's probably never been asked this before. I also misspelt recording. Okay. So that's also potentially a problem that it could encounter. But we'll see. I also could have asked it to be funny. That's also a potential pain point.
Carry on. I'm just interested because we're going to talk about thematics and podcasts, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so I need a write me, and this is actually going horribly. Okay, I thought, what the does ChatGPT? Write me an intro for my gaming podcast, which we haven't recorded, spelled correctly in a while.
Someone being too busy.
Okay, it's doing it now. Right, podcast intro music player. We've done that bit. Okay, so it says host you in brackets. That's me. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Hey there, gamers. Welcome back to podcast There Are No Good Games. Okay, good. I filled that in correctly. The show where we deep dive into the world of gaming, from the latest releases to all the all-time classics and everything in between. It's been a minute since we last recorded, but we're back and ready to dive headfirst into all the epic news, reviews, and game talk you've been missing. Whether you've been grinding out your favorite games or catching up on the gaming world, we've got lots to cover today. So grab your controller, settle in, and let's get this podcast rolling again. What do you think? Was that good?
I mean, I think the definition of a minute and 7 months is quite like dramatic. If that makes sense.
When was our last episode?
30th of the 5th.
Oh, of the 5th?
Of the 5th.
That's May. That's a long time.
Yeah, it's not even a minute, chat.
I know my months. Oh my word. Right. Well. Okay. So let's pretend. Okay. So do you think we'll use that? Okay. Cool. So, right. So it says here they need to grab their controller. What have you grabbed your controller for over the last 5 months, 6 months?
What have I grabbed my controller for over the last 5-6 months? I've grabbed my controller for. I've been playing Bodycam, which has been quite cozy actually. And then what else? We've been playing a lot of like rogue-like adventure games, like Pilgrim. And there was also Subterranal, so I want to call it that, but I don't know if that's the right phrasing.
These are lethal company-like games.
Lethal likes, I like it. Okay.
Lethal likes, yeah, and so which were they very similar, or would you say you had a favorite?
I think they've got like different terms, right? So I'm a big fan. So holistically, I enjoy Lethal Company. However, I find it's a bit too disorientating and you cannot learn many of the maps, which is a frustrating aspect of the game for me. I prefer Pilgrim and Subterranal because there's actually a journey happening in the background, if that makes any sense at all. But I think my issue with like Leaf Company is like it just feels like you're not going on the journey. It feels like you're just going to place, not really doing much in between. So those are the two lethal likes I've been playing. I've also been sequestered into Deadlock, Battle Outro. We've also been playing 5K.
Okay.
Which is the... What is that? It's the SCP game. And then
SCP-5K. Yeah.
And then finally, I've also been playing my favorite types of games, which are combat games. So I've been playing BattleTech and Phantom Brigade because I like those sorts of games. And then Haley and I have just started playing Power World. Which is actually very
ahead
good.
Of the time. Isn't that a year? Is it a year anniversary now?
Yeah, I think it's a year anniversary, but I'll give them credit. Like it's like an in between of a survival game mixture of like a factory game. It's quite good.
I see. Yeah, well, for some of those games I have played with you, so like Subterranauts and Pilgrim, we played together.
Yeah, and the SCP game.
Recently. And good. The SCP game we did, yeah, because that actually, we've got a bit more to do with that. Actually, we need to jump back in. We need to grab our controllers again for that one.
Yeah, and I've also pre-ordered a couple of games. I don't know if I'm jumping it.
Well, I was going to talk about my games.
No.
But if we'll skip that. We can play the games you're going to play because what games are you? So there's a few more games coming out this year. I'm guessing that you're excited for. Well, I don't know. That's what you just said. I'm guessing Stalker's one of them, is it not?
Yeah, Stalker 2. And then Monster Hunter Wilds. Those are the two games I've pre-ordered because I don't think there's going to be any other big hitters until the end of the year. And then I'm going to try play through some like single player games and post that up onto the channel. But yeah,
Digital Dungeon's channel. Yeah.
What have you been playing? What spurred you to grab your controller?
Yeah. Well, so obviously, like I said, I played a few of those games with you, but I've played in more recent memory. I played Sulphur. Which is a roguelike FPS game. It's good. It's fun. It takes a tiny bit of time to get used to. And it's a lot of crafting as well. It's quite heavily crafting based to do well. But yes, it is good fun. It only released in October, late October. So it's only been out for a week or two of the time of this recording. So it's still got a long way to go. As with all the games I think we've listed, it's early access.
Yep.
It is fun. And they're basically it's single player, but they said once it's released 1.0, if they sell enough and get enough, like I think it's 200,000 sales, over 1 million wish lists, then try and add multiplayer to it, which sounds interesting.
I mean, I thought it was a multiplayer game when I first saw it, and that's what drew me into it. And I was like, this will be perfect. I'm really excited for this to happen. Ollie will like this.
Yeah.
And then
I did buy it. Yeah. Well, it's not. It's a single player game at the moment. So I did have that for my own kind of thing, which has been good. I've also played the new Factorio expansion, Space Age. So I'm still playing that multiplayer. So that's good. It takes a long time to play. I'm not like the best Factorio player in the world, I'll be honest. So I do have to build stuff and rebuild it quite constantly.
I get
told off for spaghetti. I think you can be very good at Factorio. Yeah. When you watch me, you're like, yeah, there are definitely better players at this game. There's definitely some skill. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, when you watch someone play a game and you're like, oh, I'm actually quite good at this game because this guy's really bad. Mm-hmm. That's what someone, if they watched me play Factorio, they would immediately have that assumption, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I liked playing it. It was a cozy game. It was just like, I feel like it's more of like you play Factorio and you listen to a podcast, or you play Factorio and you listen to some YouTube or something like that. Like or you sit there with like a pen and paper and like some friends and you kind of like draw out the idea for it. I was watching like a YouTube short of it today, and apparently if you press Control and move your mouse around, it moves to the grid of the world, which was interesting for me.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been playing a few games, but obviously I've spent a lot of my year since we last recorded making games as well.
Yep.
I actually am now my own content creator again. So, started releasing videos for that. So a lot of playing games has been the games I've been making. The most recent one being the zombie arcade one, which I've started a new series on my channel for. So, which obviously you've played a bit of already.
Yep.
And we've got another test session coming up soon for that.
Okay. That'll be good.
So yes, that's good. So I'll release another episode when that's all ready. Yeah.
I'm interested to see that. I think you've found a nice little niche there.
Yeah.
And
I enjoy making it.
Yeah, no, it was good. And like we're talking about on the game, it was just like, it was the right level of depth for it. And it was just nice and fun, which was always kind of like a good thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I was saying previously, I've been playing a lot of Battle Outro. And I think as you're now creating video games and stuff like that, I think there's like a beautiful segue, which was video games that we could like twist and yoink, I think is the phrasing. So you take a game like poker, you twist it and you make a new video game out of it. I think one of the ideas that we discussed was noughts and crosses. And then there was also battleships. I think that was a really kind of cool concept. And I've been working on that development moving onwards. And I've got a couple of ideas on how we can turn battleships into the new cozy, like roguelike game, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah.
So,
so if you mention it now, we're going to give a giveaway. So we're basically on the clock now to make this game before
Christmas, because it'll be the new bestseller. So the idea is basically you have your generic idea of battleships. The idea is that you get like a standard fleet, and the typical battleship fleet.
Mm-hmm.
How you have, I don't remember what actually the fleet is. I think you get like the traditional idea of battleship, for those who don't know, is you and a friend play heads up against each other, and you basically have like a destroyer, a submarine, like aircraft carrier, and maybe like 2 or 3 other ships, and you basically try and shoot at each other, and you basically say hit or miss, and X amount of ships have X amount of things, like hit points, and that's how you play the game. And you try and
I would say those are different size ships, though. Those are quite important. The things you listed.
Yeah, no, exactly. So there's a couple of different things and stuff like that. So my idea for battleship would be, it would be very similar in terms of the traditional sense of you would have up to 5 different ships. You'd have like a starting fleet, which have 1 of each, and then each ship would have like a ability. So instead of taking the turn to fire, you could use an ability and then use that to kind of help up the map. So a good example would be if you were playing an aircraft carrier, you could deploy like a plane and it could scout like 4 squares, like 1 up north, 1 to the east, 1 to the west, and then 1 to the south. And that would be your ability instead of firing a missile. So it would kind of help you with that, and then it makes it back and forth a little bit more. And then over time, you can look to upgrade individual ships. So like I was saying with the aircraft carrier, you can deploy bigger recon ships over time to explore more areas. But it would like cost more points, or your aircraft carrier wouldn't be able to then fire and all that sort of stuff as well. So it would be kind of like a back and forth. So some ships would be more attack based, some would be defense based. Your submarine would be able to reposition and all that sort of stuff as well. That was the rough idea.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm picturing it.
Yeah. And then the idea would be you can customize your fleet. So after you play the first couple of things, you can then pick like more of like a submarine hunter fleet, which is like built of more submarines. And the idea is that they have like 2 shots each, but they can take down things a lot easier and reposition a lot quicker. If you take aircraft carriers, they're a lot more tanky, but they shoot less, and then you'd need another ship to kind of do your damage and stuff like that. So each ship would have more of a purpose versus just a shape and like a feel on the battlefield, basically.
I see. This makes sense.
Yeah. And then you'd go through like a set area. So you'd start on, I don't know, the US, and then make your way to Japan, and you'd go over throughout those fleets. Or you can make it a space game where you're going through like different areas, and you've got your fleet that you're working with through space. And each time you play, there'll be new things to fight. And then eventually there'd be like a giant boss you'd have to fight. So you'd have to try and find things, blow them up, and then also deal with like maybe landmines that might land in your areas, stuff like that as well.
So it's got a single player campaign as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like a roguelike thing. So you could play through it, and then maybe, I don't know, you could probably do like a basic version and play it online. But I think a single player campaign is good. It's roguelike, it's repeatable, but it's something that everyone knows and feels comfortable with, right?
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
That was the pitch.
Yeah. That's right. So how much am I being paid to make this game for you?
You're being paid that much.
Okay, cool.
It's a good amount.
That's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, and then you get percentage, and then over the top of that, you get royalties as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I see that. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's my hot take for the pitch of the day. What do you think is
it a hot take? I mean, it's a pitch.
It's a pitch. It's a pitch.
I've
raised the flag and thrown out an idea.
Yeah, it's not as good as that. The one we had to remove from that episode. My one, when you said if you could make any,
I think there's reasons why we had to remove it, because it was that good of an idea.
The forbidden game,
the banned game. Fair. But if you find Bloodtake or myself out in the wilds, ask us, and we still won't tell you. So,
yeah. So while I've been working on these games and playing them, in particular Sulphur, as I mentioned earlier. Game music has been on my mind recently because I think sometimes it's quite underrated as a medium for gaming.
Interesting.
And it's not, you don't really often hear game soundtracks on the radio and other things like that. Occasionally you do, if they're like like Final Fantasy, you actually might hear on something like Classic FM, a UK radio station sometimes, but generally they don't really play it. So why do you think that game soundtracks don't make their way out into the kind of the real world often?
I mean, I think it depends on the person. I quite enjoy game soundtracks to the point where I've got quite a few of them lined up on my Spotify, and that's how I can listen to them. But I think it's more of like I don't know. I think people are more likely to, when you watch TV or you watch a film, there's a soundtrack that's associated with it. Sometimes they have like named artists and stuff playing it. But I think the issue is with video games, it's normally in-house developed artists and stuff like that. And that's probably why they're not as well listened to, because they're not as well played. Prime example is when like the Top Gun Maverick came out. Everyone was listening to the song done by Old Republic. I want to say it's Old Republic. I'm
right.
One Republic. There we go. And everyone was listening to that horrendously.
Old Republic's a Star Wars game.
I know I was going to say. Everyone's playing the old Star Wars. It was a great time. No, but I think it was just like, it matches the medium. I think when you play video games, you don't really assume there's tracks playing. You just assume it's like a constant loop in the background.
Well, that's dependent on the game, really, isn't it? Because something good game music is one that kind of fits what's going on. So actually, sometimes you don't even recognize it's playing. You're just so immersed, right?
No, agreed.
And the music helps with that. Sulphur's kind of an odd one because it's kind of like electronic music, dance music for it. I think it's kind of like, I would say it's like kind of drum and bassy.
EDM.
Yeah, it's EDM in general, but it's a mixture of certain EDM stuff. But I did notice it. So it wasn't like in the background like I would have thought that kind of game would be. But like this is even heightened, this kind of topic, because I don't know if you've seen, I think I sent it to you, the Nintendo mobile app that allows people to listen to music on the go. It's effectively like Nintendo Spotify. And there's playlists depending on, I think it's like the type of mood you're in, and it goes to like all the different Nintendo games. And that's kind of, I guess, trying to normalize listening to that kind of music out of the game, right?
I think it's just like a generational thing, right? So for me, I listen to quite a lot of like the Legend of Zelda tracks and things like that already. Like Fairy Fountain's a good one. I think Ocarina of Time's another one. Sarah's Song's another good one. But then also like the Persona stuff I listen to anyway. But I think it just depends how you feel. Yeah. Like Persona, Rainy Day, Noise is like such a vibe, you know?
Yeah, but I was more talking about like normal people who don't already listen to game music.
I mean, I think when you play like a video game, you don't really, I think I've kind of hit the nail on the head. You don't think about it that much when you're playing video games. You go, oh, that's a cool noise, or like, oh, the music's really hyped for this. I think you don't really look at the older games, like the classic Call of Duties and stuff like that, when you're like marching Omaha Beach and you go, wow, this is really good music, I need to listen to it. I think music's gotten better with video games, and I think the bigger titles video games normally have like tie-ins with all the music and stuff like that. Like the Riot stuff does. But yeah, I think it's just like it's personal taste, and also I think a lot of people just have different versions of what they assume is music. Like the Ballad Outro soundtrack, I've now got that at work playing at the moment. The FTL soundtrack I used to listen to quite a bit, but I think it just depends. Like the music has to hit you from that kind of level. But like for instance, I wouldn't listen to, trying to think of an example here, like the Dark and Darker soundtrack or the This War of Mine soundtrack or like Company of Heroes soundtrack. I think you need to find the right soundtrack that suits you.
Yeah. So I guess like it depends, because some songs have some games have like classic bits of music, but just like one piece of music that's memorable, and the rest you just won't know. So like, I mean, it could be as simple as looking at like the Portal games. You know, the credits songs are the ones that everyone remembers.
Yep.
But you probably would not remember. I mean, there's the general like radio one at the beginning of the games, but ignoring that one, you know, it's generally quite forgettable, a lot of the music in that, and you wouldn't normally say it. But then, you know, if I said to you, okay, Super Mario, okay, soundtrack, all right, there's probably only a few that you would be able to like, oh yeah, this and this, right? Obviously, like in normal, in the outer world of like gamers and non-gamers, the soundtrack, like the main theme of Mario is extremely well recognized.
Yeah.
But you know, you probably wouldn't recognize every single Mario Kart tune. You would probably be quite good at that, actually.
Yeah.
Which tune in which track?
I could do that.
We're not
Meadows, here I come. Yeah.
Okay. This is our next activity when we see each other. We're doing a test of how many Mario Kart tracks you actually, like, you know, Mario Kart music tracks you can relate to the actual track itself.
I mean, I think it also depends on like the type of game, right? So as you were saying, really good example, and you absolutely nailed this. Super Mario Bros. I would not go out and listen to the individual tracks. Super Mario Kart, I would do. Like if I was to, like, prime example, Hogwarts Legacy. Apart from like the classic like tune that is associated with Harry Potter, no one really listens to that sort of stuff. But if you look at like Mechanicus and Vermintide, I think those more indie games have better audience retention for the music, as well as also the type of game. Because if you sat there on the same screen for a while playing it, so I don't know, Skyrim is a really good one. Like
so I was about to say, there's like when you're like watching like a YouTube video, it could be someone talking, whatever. There's occasionally you will hear the same soundtracks over and over again in the background, and the two main ones are Skyrim and Animal Crossing. Those are the background tracks that people constantly use in their videos and on stream.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, because it's like relatable. Everyone knows exactly where you are, and you're in a comfortable place. Well, if I say to you, Ollie, like, that's actually, I was going to say Fall Guys, but everyone kind of knows the Fall Guys intro. If I was to say, pick a song from GTA, apart from the Taxi song, which song would you pick? Like that's kind of like
the one from the loading screen.
Oh, the bound, like that thing. Yeah.
I don't remember it going like that, but yeah, sure, that's close enough.
I'm thinking of like GTA 4, like, you know, the intro for GTA 4 with
It's like the that one.
That's the one that stuck in my head. It's loading screens and like main songs that keep on getting blasted in your ear. Like the Cyberpunk stuff is a really good one. Like I Want to Stay at Your House, but that's related to like Edge Runners. But since I started playing that again for reasons will be soon disclosed, it's really stuck in my head. Like the Dredge stuff is stuck in my head because the main music you listen to is that just general soundtrack. I think.
What about the music from Elden Ring? I mean, you've heard the same track over and over again in a boss battle.
Well, that's what I mean. I think everyone just jokes with the classic, like, I'm trying to remember what, you know, the Elden Ring meme where it's just like, do you hear that boss music? And the operatic singers start blasting out songs, and then it's like, oh, da, 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 and it's just like someone just charging up to you, like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I think it's like pivotal moments, it's exposure and sorts of stuff. But I think mainstream games don't have those sorts of repetitive areas in them. Like take Call of Duty, take I don't know. I'm trying to look at like the top 10 games at the moment. Give me 2 seconds while I do this. This is like live factual reviews.
What are you asking? Top 10 games of what?
Well, Steam games, right? So, I'm looking at popular upcoming. Like, pick out like 10 Steam games, right?
Okay. Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
I cannot pick a single song. I could tell you maps, but I couldn't tell you songs.
Okay. What about like obviously Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Elder Scrolls, Skyrim.
Yep. You can play the intro. Yep.
Rust.
Couldn't name you a single song of Rust.
I don't think Rust really. I don't know what songs.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it, so yeah, carry on now.
It's a top 10 game on Steam, so it must. I don't actually know what music is in Rust, to be honest with you.
Yep. Next one.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, you got a couple of them. Yep.
Team Fortress 2.
Something scratching my head, but it's not going to jump out at me because it's Next one.
Okay. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Nope.
Apex Legends.
Nope.
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. PUBG.
Nope. I mean, I think we picked like a funny thing actually. So most people who play games play first-person shooters, and unless you're playing the campaign, you do not want to be hearing music because you want to be hearing footsteps, you want to be hearing gunshots and all that sort of stuff. It's diegetic versus non-diegetic needs. So diegetic is like the in-game sounds. Like when me and you are playing Escape from Tarkov, the last song you want to hear is like the taxi music from GTA 5 blasting in the background as we're trying to work out where someone is as we're getting shot at. That's why we're playing.
I mean, it would be easy to find them. It'd be easy to find them if they were blasting that soundtrack.
Yeah, to be honest, but that's why we sit in Discord and like dead silence and pure just nausea and sweat. But yeah, exactly.
Maybe for you, I'm cozy while playing Escape from Tarkov. Remember?
The amount of times you've yelled at me when playing Tarkov, I don't think it's cozy. But we've already discussed this.
It's cozy for me. It's cozy for me.
Yeah, it's cozy yelling at people. Yeah. Okay, it's fine. Okay.
Valheim. What was the music in Valheim?
I can't remember Valheim. I just remember you being like, the vertical combat's really shit in this game, and it's really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree.
And then we got to the end, and I think we're all disillusioned with the ending, honestly.
Valheim is overrated. Well, now they've added I think 2 major updates since we last played it, but Valheim is my overrated game. I always said it was overrated since it came out, but when we played it last year. It was my overrated game of 2023.
That's fair. From starting your YouTube channel, how have you found that holistically, Ollie?
Well, unfortunately, every video I've put out has been under some sort of time pressure, so that's been it's been difficult to do that. But I would say now that I don't think I've got any time pressure on any particular episode necessarily. Obviously, I need to make a new one. That's kind of, there is time pressure to actually get something out. But I'm not like having like a hard deadline I've set for myself. Because the first one I did was the Ludum Dare, and the time pressure for that was I needed to release it before the next Ludum Dare.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be a bit kind of out of date. So we released it on the same day. Just about. And then the other one was the Zombie Arcade episode 1, which needed to come out on Halloween because that was kind of the entire point and challenge I set myself. So now that I've moved on from there, I should be absolutely fine. I mean, I said to myself, I do want to release the episode 2 this month. Okay. So then I've got that going, but I'm not in any particular stress to get it out. But other than that, I've liked the feedback. The comment section has been good and positive. So, so I like that. That's nice. Subscribers have been growing. Views are growing every day. So yeah, I've hit kind of like, I've beaten all the milestones I set for each video.
Oh, that's good.
So the first one I thought, I think I set the target because we were with each other on the same day I released that, right? I think I said to you, if I got 100 by the end of the year views on it, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And it's already broken 2,000 views, so that's pretty good. And the other one I said, I don't see this one doing as well as the first one because of just the timing and stuff. So I said, I'd be happy again if it gets like 200 views, and it's at nearly 500, I think now. So I'm pretty happy with it. I just know it's about consistency, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. No, exactly. It's consistency and trying to get stuff done without burning out. It's a lovely little juggle.
Well, a lot of testing as well, like the name of the video. As I've changed like the names of videos, like after they've been released to see if it makes a difference, and it does. So that's helpful to know, like how to like better get with the YouTube algorithm, and people will click the video clearly. So I just need to like kind of keep releasing stuff to test those things out, and it'll make a bit more sense.
Yeah, like I think it just takes a little bit of time and takes a lot of practice and stuff like that. I think you're in like a nice happy spot. You've got some good videos and all that sort of stuff. From that perspective, it's just.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes to avoid?
I mean, I'm a real sucker for this. I'm always into don't go into oversaturated niches, he says, with a gaming channel. And then also just make sure your audio and your story is being told effectively, and then make it accessible. I think we joked about this ages ago. We did our subtitling, which is a pain in the butt to do properly and to make it look good. But now that we do it, we've got a lot more like retention and views on our footage.
Yeah. It's like our thing, though. It's like the thing of the digital engineers, isn't it? Like every video you go on, it will have that.
Yeah, it's now
system.
got subtitling on it. It looks good. It sounds good. And like, I think it's just one of those things. As long as you have like high quality content, it's not a question of if, it's when, and just trying to keep up with that sort of stuff. And I think that's the game. It's really disheartening. I don't know. I like to go online and kind of work out niches and all that sort of stuff and how to kind of grow. Some people are really like pessimistic. They're like, oh, don't bother. Your channel is just a hobby. That's all it'll ever be. But I think if you look at like a business or like something you want to grow or a new skill you want to develop or like kind of go into the gym, you just need to exercise that muscle constantly in terms of like thinking, producing, recording, editing, and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's just trying to build a habit with it. But yeah, I think it's habit building is probably the most difficult bit.
That's good information to help me out. I think I'm just starting on my journey, so we'll see how well it turns out. But yeah, if I can put out another 2 videos this year, then I think I've been consistent enough with one every month. So that's since I started. So obviously not one every month of the year because I started 8 months late into that.
I mean, I think as long as you just keep consistent goals, like I've got 3 podcasts I'm finishing off before the end of this week, which would be good. I'm posting that online for content creator stuff, and then a couple of other things. But I think, like you said, it's just trying to make it a marathon, not a sprint. So if you can set yourself a minimum of 1 video a month, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, I agree. That's good. Good challenge, and I look forward to keeping that along with your help of my audio.
Yes, I'm always happy to jump on and tell you how to redo your audio and make it sound better.
Yeah, it's been quite tragic before.
I mean, look, I think it's one of those weird things, like when you think of audio and stuff like that, it is something you just have to look at, but it's something you don't really, like, it's like most things, right? It's like a video game. There's some bits you just don't really think are important, and there's some bits that are really important. Like audio in a video game, you don't notice it, but if it's bad, you notice it immediately.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel like it works with gaming and stuff like that. Or sorry, videos at least. If you don't make it good, people realize it very quickly. But if you do it well, no one realizes it, which is always interesting.
Tristan, so on our break we've had, you've cheated on me. You started another podcast. Do you want to explain this to the viewers?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can do that. So it's like another channel / another podcast. It's basically called Diary of a Content Creator. It's very cozy. It's talking to people about what they do on their channel, how they've found their niche, what videos have done well, how they've been improving, and then advice they can give other people. Because I think there is a weird, I don't know, gap in the market where you have very successful YouTube channels. You have people who tell you how to make very successful YouTube channels that are pre-dedicated on the fact you have to be successful, and they don't actually make content at all. And the content they do make is very easy, like, I don't know, how to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's all very like subjective. This is a documentary / docu-series / help area, which is I'm trying to start a YouTube channel. How can I improve it? What can I do to improve my channel? How can I look to grow and all that sort of stuff? And then get advice of other people. That's the whole idea of the podcast. It's a vent session. It's a here's how I've improved it, and here are some hints and tips, and here's also my kit list of what I use as well.
So you the main host of this with different guests every week. Is that how you do it?
Yeah. So basically, I basically say, doing a new episode, who wants to come online, and they'll go, yeah, I'll do it, because a lot of people want to talk about the channel, they want to try and promote it, and basically I offer that platform where they can kind of come on, talk about their entire channel, talk about what software they use, talk about how they got into it, talk about their growth journey, how they're finding it, everything at the moment, and then how they're looking to improve it as well, and if they have any goals set for themselves, and then advice for new creators.
Sounds good. And where can we find this
where
podcast?
Can we find it? It's very easy. You just go on YouTube and you just type in Diary of a Content Creator. And then
that sounds easy to me.
Yeah. Well, the idea of it's meant to be nice and easy. It's meant to be just realistic. So I'm trying to do like a daily vlog thing on it. I'm trying to do a couple of videos, and then it's also just to document what I'm doing on a daily basis. It's like a habit journal. It's very good at like keeping me on a realistic spectrum, because if I don't document everything, I'm not doing any work. And if I'm documenting loads of stuff, it means I'm doing loads of work. So it's a lovely little cycle.
I like it. I look forward to listening.
Yeah, well, hopefully the first episode should be going up Friday, and I've got 2 more episodes which will go up on the 22nd, 29th, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, the whole, I'm just trying to get the, what do you call it, the title screen. So as you can see us drawing at the moment, I'm basically trying to get something nice and cozy for like a big red flashing light that says Diary of a Content Creator, and then basically it's just flashing in the corner, so you know it's a live buffering video. I've been playing Bodycam. I think it's Bodycam. You know, the like AI generative shooter thing that we talked about ages ago.
It's AI.
Is it AI? No, it just uses like high quality assets, and it kind of looks like it should be like real life.
Right. Yeah.
I always find it interesting how some video games seem to do better when they do an accidental spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going, what do I mean by that? Like, so what I'm trying to say is like Bodycam has released a new zombie mode.
All right.
In which you have to clear out a house and it's full of like zombies, but you have your like pistol and stuff like that, and you've got to try and kill as many zombies as you can and clear out a house and basically clear the level. And they made it a permanent feature because it was so well received and well requested. Another example is Fortnite, which started as like a survival game, which is now a battle royale game.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of the other one, which is there's no one that's coming to mind. But I find it interesting that sometimes people will make video games and the audience will go, that's a good idea, but it's not the game we want. Instead, we want this.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's becoming more and more common over time, or?
Well, I guess. I mean, Bodycam unfortunately stole the idea of the original Unrecorded, which hasn't released yet.
Okay.
But Bodycam, yeah, I guess, you know, but sometimes I don't think Bodycam's like obviously known for its zombies. I mean, this is the first time I've heard of it actually doing that. But I think it's clearly, you know, sometimes games don't do as well as they thought they would do, and you've got to change it. I mean, like, yeah, Fortnite is a classic one, which is probably the best decision. You know, they could have scrapped it, or they did it. You know, look at something like Concord, which is now no longer for sale, and was probably out for about 3 weeks, and then was completely taken down, and that's because it just did not sell, was not worth the money. And clearly, after a while of them shutting it down, they said, "Oh, we're not sure what we're going to do with it. We might come back with a new version or changes and stuff." And they didn't. They just fired all the team. So I think it is interesting, but you know, does it come from desperation?
No, I think you're right. It's like, I think it's desperation and trying to work out how to pivot something. But I do find it interesting because realistically, games like Fortnite wouldn't have initially come out with the idea going, oh yeah, we should try and make this like a survival game. Sorry, not a survival game, a battle royale game from a survival game. We're trying to make it like we're trying to make it a zombie survival builder based thing, but they've got all the mechanics there and basically just twist it on its head instead of going, survive as long as you can. It's kill everyone you can while building a base, like a base and towers. It's like a weird concept of how they pivoted, but like the pivot almost seems to do better for it.
But I don't know if that means the original idea was bad.
How do you mean? Like,
I don't. Do you think let's look at the original Fortnite. Do you think it was their kind of? I think it's like a tower. It's not really tower defense.
It wasn't. It was like you're meant to go. This is the thing that made me laugh. I was originally going to buy Fortnite when it came out as the OG game because it was go around into different houses, break stuff down, build a base, and defend yourself until like the waves are over and you've hit the sort of dateline. And then they went, oh, it's actually not that popular. Let's pivot into Battle Royale instead.
Yeah, because they're popular. I mean, look at Overwatch. Overwatch originally was Blizzard's MMO, Project Titan, and then they had to scrap that, and then it ended up becoming one of the, again, most played shooters of that time. So, and has now, caused loads of new games to be developed that are kind of like Overwatch-esque. Obviously, Overwatch was kind of, Team Fortress 2-esque as well, but not many people would have heard of that game, who play Overwatch as well when it probably came out. So, so I mean, games will come out of nothing, and but they can also come out of something that wasn't working and was repurposed and ultimately worked. So I think we see that more often than not really as well. So I think people will always try and say, okay, we did all this work. How can we still make money off this? I think it's inevitable.
Well, look at I think my favorite example that I've now remembered, which is good, is TFT and League. Like it's taking assets from the main game that you know and love, and then changing it into something else. Like even was it Runeterra, Legends of Runeterra? Like it's still the same IPs and kind of idea and themes and stuff like that. But they pivot it, and like TFT is a prime example, right? It's an auto battler. You know what the animation's like. You've got your pre-designated like move set for your heroes and your minions and all that sort of stuff. But now you've just made it easy by making it into an auto battler. I think I don't know. I feel like people are more falling in love with like games as a genre or like a clothing brand. So for instance, like Nike, Adidas, all that sort of stuff. Like you have people who will wear Nike, who wear Adidas, but they won't wear like certain other brands. Likewise with video games. Like I feel like people play Dota, but they won't play League of Legends, but they will play Overwatch, but they won't play TFT or like that sort of game. I'm finding it interesting that almost games are becoming like a status symbol or like a badge to wear. Does that make sense?
I mean, I guess fan bases, it's about loyalty to a certain thing, right? If you I guess if you're playing one MOBA, are you like? I mean, I'm sure there are people who play all the different MOBAs, But the problem is because MOBAs are so complex enough and so many different characters, you're going to find it. You are going to pick either. Like obviously there's others, but you're not going to play. I find it unlikely to be playing both Dota 2 and League of Legends.
Yeah, no, agreed. Because I think it's too much. Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time to kind of master it because the ceiling's so high for it.
Yeah, and the people who play Deadlock. Are people who really support Deadlock and its game design and choices. A lot of them came from Dota. So because it's a Valve game, and Ice Frog, who developed Dota 2, is the main designer. He's the main designer of Deadlock. So people are going to be attached to that and follow him because they are fans of him and what he makes. So it's inevitable, but that people who play Deadlock probably some people have said, oh, it's Overwatch is rubbish, but I like Deadlock. But some people who like Overwatch are going to go to Deadlock and go, oh, I don't like this at all.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's weird. It feels like publishing houses and kind of developers are almost becoming like their own pseudo brand and like families, like with like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all that sort of stuff. Or like Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. I feel like it's slowly becoming like that sort of world, like it did with streaming services.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting because it's just like I think a lot of companies now are having to like pivot into like IPs they already own, and then see if they can pivot into like another bracket to try and catch more market share for it.
Yeah, we could also see that with like game launches as well. You know, there's some companies that have or had their own game launcher, but then you know they've had to make it event, and they were like, oh, we're not launching on Steam. We have our own game launcher.
Yeah.
But then they've realized that no one wants to buy a game and then go through 3 different game launchers to actually load the real game.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
Which I think some people have for like the new Black Ops 6. I think that's been an issue for people.
Oh really? I thought Black Ops 6 would be on the Battle.net launcher, or no?
No, so Call of Duty has its own launcher, which you launch from the Battle.net launcher. But then if you buy Black Ops 6 on Steam, you obviously are launching it from the Steam launcher.
Oh god!
So it does go on quite a while. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say like launcher-wise, it's always a pain because like prime example is like integrating between launchers. Like I hate the launcher between Steam and Epic Ubisoft and Epic, and
yeah.
It's just like such a mess. If you get like one username wrong or one like email address wrong, that's it. It just like completely bricks the game.
Yeah, and it gets annoyed and it tries to tie it to your Steam. Because I remember when we did like Trackmania on Ubisoft, and I had launched it from Steam. It would do the whole thing. But the same with like Rainbow Six Siege, I'd have it out on Steam, but then again it would have to go through the Ubisoft launcher. Yeah, so I think companies are moving away from it now, though, mostly.
Well, that's something. I think it's either you do a launch or you just have the game as a separate piece. It's just, it's something they need to have a look at and try and invest in.
Tristan, over the summer, while we weren't recording podcasts,
or playing games,
was the Olympics. Okay, was the Olympics held in Paris? Now, I don't know if you know this, but every Olympics, every 4 years, they always add new sports, or to stay, or and remove some, or they have one just for that particular games, and then it's never done again. So, if you had to add a sport that's never been in the Olympic Games, and you thought this will work, but it's quite wild, what sport do you think you would add?
I think it'd be medieval cage fighting.
Medieval cage fighting. Yeah, right, do you want to? I think it's like jousting. Jousting would have been good. I think like medieval jousting. Was there such thing as medieval cage fighting?
Yeah, it's called medieval MMA.
Okay, I need to look this up. Medieval MMA. Right, let's have a look.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool. Like I've been watching like weird stuff about that. It's called Armored.
How on earth did you find this?
I think it was just like I was scrolling for YouTube. It was late. I'd been watching some videos on like fantasy and medieval stuff, and then that was it. I just saw it and I was like, this should definitely be a sport. Like full contact night tournaments, bring it back. Like
right, so I'm watching it here, and they're literally armored up.
Yeah,
swords, shields,
maces,
and they literally. This guy is getting hit in the head with a shield.
Yeah.
Even the referee is dressed up in full armor.
I mean, you don't want to get whacked by a sword or a shield in the arm, right? Or like if you need to get someone off, you need to kind of be in that same caliber of like stuff, right? You can't like mess around. So yeah, I think that'd be like really fun. Like I don't know, you pick like a armor class, light, medium, or heavy, or plate. You pick your weapon of like sword, shield, polearm and stuff like that, and you just have to fight and then either disarm the person or like not do a knockout or do like a like a tap kind of thing.
So the top comment on this video I'm watching is 5 minutes before I had no idea this sport existed, and now it's my favorite sport of all time.
Yeah, I think it's such a good idea. Like you should be able to just go into an arena, pick what you want, and then go for it. It's I would joke and say it's probably safer than MMA, but probably not.
The ref should be dressed as a dragon.
But like,
good people of the Imperial City, welcome to the arena.
Yeah, just like in like the full dress. But no, I think it'd be like a good idea. No, like I don't know. I think it'd be great. Jousting I'm also down for. Like bring back the old like medieval sports and stuff like that.
I mean, I'm with this one. I mean, the jousting is a cool idea, but I can see now that I understand what you're talking about. I can see why you want to add this. Do you think the British would have an advantage?
An advantage? I think the French would probably have an advantage. But no, I think they should bring back like the old medieval sports, like jousting, like single sword combat, double sword combat, all that sort of stuff. and then like have that as like a mini tournament set. Like that'd be so fun because then you'd have like, I don't know, clothing brands do like Nike, I don't know, Lululemon and stuff like that, supporting and like building new armor sets to then deploy out, and that'd be just hilarious to watch. I don't know, bring back the classic stuff that
we have archery though, don't we? We have archery. That's a medieval sport.
Yeah, we've got two types. We've got like compound with like a range with like a target, and we've got compound with target. We've also got what's the other type of bow? Recurve with a target, and you've got recurve bareback, which is like recurve without a target. Like I think bring back the old traditional stuff, and then instead of like a pentathlon, have like someone who can do archery, sword fighting, jousting, and then like, I don't know, something else. And then that would be kind of cool. Bring back like that sort of level of pentathlon. What do you think?
Well, you know, some medieval sports are actually illegal.
Like what?
Cockfighting. Cockfighting would be the main one.
Yeah, you don't want to bring the chickens in.
Yeah, so I would say that's a problem. So we couldn't do that one.
Okay.
The best one that ChatGPT has given me is Battle of the Nations, and it's a full contact mock battle that's part of tournaments. It involved multiple participants, often in armor, who would battle until one side was declared the winner. So you kind of, you know, you've got your medieval MMA, but you're going to put people in a ring with multiple teams and they fight. That's pretty cool until they're literally injured. What do you think about that one?
I mean, yeah, do that. Why not? You've got rugby, you've got like boxing, you've got that sort of stuff. Like just, I don't know, bring back some like generic stuff that people want to see.
Do you think a large scale sword battle is similar to rugby?
I mean, it's probably a little. Well, I mean, if you look at American football, right? They can like tackle each other without the ball and stuff like that, and they can crash into each other. I think it's pretty safe. Like, I don't know. With with like safety stuff nowadays, you're probably as safe doing medieval fighting as you are playing American basketball. Sorry, not basketball.
So I was going to say, you think the modern day Battle of Nations is rugby? Okay.
No,
what do you think the modern day version of
American football or like
football,
hockey?
Okay.
Yeah, like ice hockey and stuff like that. I think it's just as dangerous as that, right?
I see. Yeah. What do you think the modern day version of falconry is? I think I've already come up with an idea. So
is it like FPV drones, right?
No, falconry was basically falcons and hawks were trained to catch smaller game such as rabbits or pheasants, and is often highly ritualized practice with elaborate codes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the modern day version of that, you know, when they're like training police dogs, and you got that guy like dressed up in like full like, you know, soft padding and stuff, and the dog has to chase
from Boston Dynamics to go chase them.
I reckon, yeah. Well, I was gonna have like a real dog chasing them, but yeah. But then you know what happens if you come with like a spot from Boston Dynamics and running after someone and then just biting them. I guess that seems it. So we can definitely bring out falconry, but I think we should do the modern day version.
I still think that'd be like FPV drones. No, that'd be like FPV drones, and someone's driving like a mini RV car, and the car has to get out of the maze before the FPV drones get them, or something like that.
I see. What about Robot Wars? Where do you think Robot Wars sits on this modern day?
Robot Wars is a classic. I miss it, and I miss the house bots as well, like Circular Lot. Was it Sergeant Bash? Heavy Metal and all that sort of stuff. Like those were so good back in the day.
Do you think there's no happy endings for Robot Wars though? Because like, listen to this. Okay, so imagine, all right, you're with your dad, okay, and in your garage, you know, you've spent hours and hours building this months. You spent months building this robot with your dad, okay, in the garage, okay. Like your mum's like, no, you need to stop, get out the garage, go outside, play with your friends. But no, you're with your dad building this thing. You then sign up for this competition, only to watch it get ripped apart within seconds. Do you not think that's quite sad?
So hear me out, right? I bought you like a nice jacket or a nice pair of hiking shoes or a nice keyboard.
Okay.
Would you, as like a as someone who's gifting that to someone, would you be more annoyed that that jacket, boots, keyboard, or controller sits in a box the entire time, or would you rather see someone getting use out of it?
Right, but did you spend months sewing this jacket together?
Yeah. In this scenario, I've spent months sewing you this personalized jacket. I've spent.
So what you're telling me? Okay, so you've made me this personalized jacket.
Yep.
I go into the wilderness.
Yep.
And it gets ripped on a tree. Are you saying you would not be annoyed that I had done that because I'd
be more annoyed if you never wore the jacket.
I don't know. I feel like I know. I think you would be more annoyed if I was like, Tristan, I'm sorry, I've ripped my jacket on the first within 2 minutes of going out and sit.
Yeah, but I'd be like, oh, okay, well at least you got use out of it, or like at least you wore it, for instance, right?
There's no way you would say.
No, I'm being serious. Like if I bought you,
I spent months making this jacket and you dart and get ripped on thing. How stupid do you have to be? That's what you would say to me.
Prime example. I buy you an Oculus headset.
Right.
Or a Steam Vive, right? And you leave it sat there on the chair for the entire time. Okay. Or you get, I don't know, 20 or 30 good hours out of it, and you do it up, you add some more bits to it, and then you replace like the foam of like the eyepiece, and then I think I'd prefer that you use that than do anything else. It like if you're building a robot, the robot's going to be used. It might break. You know that when you're going into it. It's not like you're, I don't know, typing something out or doing something. Like most things. Ollie, you've built the new, I don't know, zombie arcade. You spent hours doing it. You've done the new update. You send it out, and it's trash.
Yeah. This is predictable, but yes.
Does that mean you should never post your games online because they might be terrible? Or should you get good feedback and practice them and refine them much like a robot?
Well, as we know, there are no good games, so it's inevitable that it was never going to do well, right?
Exactly. So, and the only way you can do better is by improving the games. The more times and the more iterations you do of a video game, the better it's going to get. Look at your video, right? You had a Santa Claus game, and now look at you got a zombie arcade, Call of Duty like clone.
Santa's Last Stand was pretty goated though, to be fair.
But you know what I mean. If you built that game and you never released it anywhere, you'd never get any feedback. You'd never improve. Much like the robot, because when you build the robot, if you leave it in your house, it's cool. You're not going to do anything with it. But if you take it out there, you then learn how to make it better next time and all that sort of stuff as well. It's I think it's the way it should go, right?
Yeah.
So
I see it.
What sports would you add to the Olympics?
I was 100% down for this dog catching person one for the police dog training. But what about like, okay, hear me out, right?
Okay.
I would probably add chariot racing. Okay, we're going a bit further a bit further before medieval. Okay, but chariot racing.
Well, like Ben-Hur level chariot racing.
Like literally in a Colosseum round.
Yeah, Ben-Hur. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Why? So I would. Well, you see, because what annoys me about the current Olympics and we have it is this stupid equestrian dancing thing. I don't know what it's called. It's called dressage. That's the one.
Yeah.
So why do we have dressage, but we don't have chariot racing, where the horses are literally racing each other, carried by people, on carts? People have to build. I guess the problem is, I don't know if you've watched, it's like sailing in the Olympics, but they're all the same boat. Okay, that's pretty annoying. So I think that each country should build their own chariot to like a spec, kind of like the teams have to in Formula One.
Yeah.
And then they also provide their own horses and drivers. And then they have to go around the Colosseum racing. Yeah.
I mean, I'd watch that.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, like we just found medieval MMA. Do you think? When do you think last? Do you think people do chariot racing properly? I don't think people do.
Have you heard
oh my word! There's ostrich derby. Hold on. In 2016, there's ostriches. People riding ostriches with brooms. I'm sending you this link. This is actually game changer. This is a game changer right now.
I thought you were going to talk about motorcycle chariot racing.
No. This is with ostriches. Okay. You would not be surprised that this is in America. So
To be fair, I'd be more expecting like Africa or somewhere like that.
Oh right, so I watched 9 seconds, but the top comment is pretty hilarious how the winner was crushed by his own chariot. So I probably won't be watching the rest of this video, and it sounds pretty dangerous. Actually, these ostriches are pretty good.
I mean, they're not really doing much. I feel like because ostriches have such a yeah, I saw the crash. It wasn't that bad actually. Oh, the other guy had the same issue happen. Kind of.
I see.
But like ostriches forget where they are every 5 seconds, don't they?
Well, that maybe is part of it because I don't know. Do ostriches have a bad memory?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, what about Lord of the Rings, the elephants? What about that as a racing? What about that?
What, mama kill racing? I mean, they're pretty slow. It would kind of be like racing, like I don't know, like walkers or something like that. Ostriches have a 10-second memory, just for context.
They have a 10. How do we know this?
Because they've documented them running and then forget what's going on.
I mean, but I do that when I walk. I forgot why was I in this room?
Your sim queue gets cleared out as you walk into the new room.
Yeah, that is a problem. So I mean, the alternative to this is we go futuristic and go pod racing. I
mean, they've got motorcycle racing, so you're basically.
But that's just it's not the same. It's not the same. I think we need pod racing. Like in the desert.
What, like giant jet engines trying to work out how to make them A, hover off the ground, B, propel, and then C, not kill someone or burn yourself up.
I think this could be quite important. I think this is a feat that needs to happen within the next 10 years. For the human race to survive, we need pod racing.
For the human race to survive, we need to work out pod racing.
I think so, yeah. Don't hold me to this in 10 years' time.
We also need to work out anti-gravity first, according to you.
If we have World War III or something else happen to the country, the world, within the next 10 years, and we don't have pod racing, I'm not saying it's going to be the exact reason why, but I would say it's going to be pretty close to it.
What, the reason the human race doesn't survive because there's a lack of pod racing?
Absolutely. I mean, it's cause and effect, really.
I mean, we struggle just enough going on the ground, like fast. Like, why would you then try and mess up with air control and basically fly planes low?
But it's faster. No friction.
Yeah, there's no friction, but then you're still going to get air drag, and you're still trying to like navigate yourself on this. I don't know. I think you're just
jet engines.
There's too many basic tasks you need to do to get there, right?
So we just stick with the ostriches. We're saying
we'll stick with the motorcycle racing.
I've not talked about this motorcycle. You keep trying to change. I went horse racing. I went actual chariots, which you have to build yourself as a country due to a spec, which you didn't like. And then I went for ostriches, which is, I think, a slight step up, which now you don't like. Then I went pod racing, and you still want to go to motorcycle.
Look, let's put it like this. Even in the Star Wars Wikipedia says that pod racing was outlawed by the New Republic because it was too dangerous.
But, well, there we go. But, I mean, clearly this ostrich racing is also dangerous because the guy got crushed by a chariot.
Yeah, but we all know, as we saw in Star Wars, people died like very easily in Star Wars due to pod racing. It wasn't talked about, but you never saw them come back.
I mean, an entire planet got blown up in Star Wars, which I think more people died.
And people just went over it and went, wow, they blew up a planet, versus, wow, they just murdered like 10 million people.
I'm more annoyed that they banned pod racing than I am about that planet, to be honest with you.
I'm more bad. How can you be more mad they banned pod racing than like wiped out people?
Bit of a fun sponge, really, isn't it?
I mean, there's enough planets. You could still probably do pod racing. It's probably just not allowed to be in the Olympics for like obvious reasons.
Okay, well, I'm saying it now. The Olympics is boring. We need different sports. Bring back medieval fighting, and chariot racing, and we should aim for pod racing eventually.
Yeah, or at least doing something on like, could you imagine ice racing? Like chariots on ice.
That's the Winter Olympics. That's the Winter Olympics, remember?
Yeah. No, that's another time.
Yeah, that's a different discussion entirely.